On the show today, footy finals heats up.
The Wallabies make a shaky start to their Rugby World Cup campaign.
And how should Adam Goodes be remembered?
Stick around for all that and more. This is the Armchair Experts. Hello and welcome to the Armchair Experts, and thank you so much for joining us. My name's Daniel Jeffrey, alongside me is Jordan Matthews, and together we'll be taking you through all the week's biggest sporting news.
That's right, we'll be previewing the AFL and NRL finals this weekend, as well as having a bit of a look at the upcoming NBL season with the Illawarra Hawks. But first, let's get some news headlines where one Aussie is on top of the world.
Jason Day has been named world's #1 golfer after his recent victory at the BMW Championship. Day becomes just the third Australian to reach the world #1 ranking, following in the footsteps of Greg Norman and Adam Scott. The achievement caps off a successful few months for Day, who won the USPGA Championship in August. The Wallabies have made a winning start to their Rugby World Cup campaign, downing Fiji 28-13 last night. David Pocock starred for the Aussies with a man-of-the-match display, scoring 2 tries and having a big impact at the breakdown. However, the performance was far from convincing, with the Aussies failing to pick up a valuable bonus point, and Fiji clearly outplaying the Wallabies in the second half. To AFL now, and Patrick Dangerfield has made his intentions clear, telling the Adelaide Crows that he wants to return home to Geelong. The 25-year-old told the club he will pursue free agency, with reports saying he has signed an $800,000 contract with the Cats for 5 years. The Crows will likely seek a trade for the All-Australian when the free agency period begins in October. And finally, the AFL All-Australian team was announced on Tuesday, with Western Bulldogs veteran Robert Murphy named to captain the side. Todd Goldstein locked in the ruck job ahead of West Coast's Nick Naitanui, whilst Crows forward Taylor Walker was edged out by Richmond's Jack Riewoldt. Sydney's Josh Kennedy was another notable omission from the team, which included 11 first-time selections.
Yeah, so obviously plenty happening in AFL this week. We've got preliminary finals this weekend. 4 teams left. Let's get straight into it. Friday night, Fremantle at home to Hawthorn. What do Fremantle need to do to win?
For me, it all comes down to the midfield battle. There's been plenty made of Freo this year that they're not a high-scoring team. So for me, they need to get on top in the midfield, get the momentum going out of the centre clearances, because if they don't get the go forward from there, then I just don't think they're going to have the ball in their forward half enough to kick enough points to beat Hawthorn. Yeah, look, and as you said, Fremantle aren't traditionally, a very high-scoring team, and we've seen that to win finals footy, you need to be kicking 90-plus points. I think for them to have the best chance of winning, they need to keep it at very low scoring, and to do that, they're going to have to control the footy, control the tempo of the game, and really limit Hawthorn's run, and I think that's where, they're going to have the best chance to win. Yeah, it's going to be a tough ask for Freo, but what do you think Hawthorn have to do to get the victory? Look, it's almost the other side of the coin, I guess. Hawthorn, they don't kick very long, and I guess that's come to fruition a bit this year. Port and West Coast have both found them out in the latter half of the year, negating that the short kick and the run and carry, so they have to kick long. Whereas this weekend, if they can open up Freo with that run and carry, they use their hands a lot, they kick short. That's where they carve up teams, and I think it's going to be no different this weekend. If they do that, they'll be far too strong for Fremantle, in my opinion. Yeah, for me, they've got to limit the impact of Freo's small forwards. You look, first week of the finals, guys like Ballantyne and Walters had a huge impact against Sydney. As we said, Freo don't really have that consistent goal threat up front, so they really rely on those small guys. Ballantyne and Walters got 3 goals each in that first week. So if Hawthorn limit the impact that those guys have, you just can't see Freo scoring enough goals to beat Hawthorn. No, absolutely. And so, prediction? With all that being said, I'm going to go Freo. It's, home ground advantage. They've had the week off. They've got best player in the competition in Nat Fyfe. I'll tip them to get home, but by less than a goal. It's going to be a tight one. Yeah, look, I'm almost sitting on the fence on this one. It's very difficult to pick one. I'm leaning Hawthorn. I do think they're the best side in the competition when they're at their best. If they can expose that, I think they'll be too strong for Freo. Yeah, it's going to be a tight one. One that probably isn't going to be quite so tight is North Melbourne travelling over to West Coast to face West Coast. What do you think West Coast need to do to win?
Look, I think essentially they just need to keep doing what they have been doing. They kick a lot of points. They're a high-scoring team, and I think that ultimately comes down to their big forwards. I think that's where they're very strong. You know, Jack Darling and Josh Kennedy, now All-Australian Josh Kennedy. I think for them to win, they've just got to get it down there to their big forwards and let them dominate. I think the one advantage they do have is they've got a ruckman good enough to go with Todd Goldstein, which has been, you know, a lot of sides' downfall against North this year. So I think for West Coast, you know, I guess their big advantage is going to be their big men.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't think they have to do anything special, really. I mean, turn up, do what you've done all year, and West Coast will have a great chance of beating North. So I think you look at just about every position, they outclass the Kangaroos. So I can't see West Coast having too many troubles with this one.
Yeah, look, in saying that, what do you think North have to do if they are to win?
Yeah, the main thing for me is what they've done the past 2 weeks, and that is shut down the opposition's key midfielders. You look against the Kangaroos, against the Tigers, the Kangaroos really shut down Trent Cotchin. He hardly touched the ball. Then last week against the Swans, Dan Hanbury and Josh Kennedy really didn't have that influence on the game that they've been having the past few weeks. So I think the Kangas need to do that again. Shut down Matt Priddis, Andrew Gaff, limit those guys' impact, and they will have some chance of winning this game.
Yeah, look, essentially they just have to defend really well, don't they? You know, West Coast kick a lot of goals, they're high scoring, North have to negate that. Ferrito, Scotty Thompson, they have to defend really well on West Coast big forwards, as I said before. You know, in saying that, West Coast have got a lot of potent goal threats, so it's going to be very difficult for North, but I think similarly to Freo, they're probably going to have to keep it fairly low scoring if they are to win.
Got a prediction for us?
West Coast. I think it's hard to go past them.
Yeah, it's hard to see them losing. I've got them by 5 or 6 goals in this one. Changing sports to basketball now, and the Illawarra Hawks have endured a torrid past 12 months. They finished last in the NBL last season before going through an off-season that would see the team placed in administration and their coach resign. The side was in desperate need of a shake-up, and the signs are looking good for next season. So we headed over to the Snake Pit to see how their preparations are going.
New name, new coach, new look roster. The Illawarra Hawks hope they've got all the right ingredients to help them turn the corner from a difficult last 12 months. Arguably the side's biggest addition, new head coach Rob Beveridge brings championship-winning experience to the Hawks.
Oh, he's such a great coach. You know, he's been successful everywhere he goes. He just makes you better as a player.
Big man Cody Ellis is one of 5 new signings that have strengthened Illawarra's roster this season. Beveridge's announcement as head coach also saw former NBL champion and MVP Kevin Lish join the Hawks, along with centre AJ Ogilvy and New Zealand star Kirk Penny. With 3 pre-season games under their belt, Ellis says the team has come together quickly.
We're actually working really well together. You know, the older guys that have been here for a while have all said that, you know, it's kind of like we're a veteran team together. And it feels like that even in trainings and the couple games we've played. You know, obviously we've got some kinks to work out, but, you know, that happens with every team.
Returning for his 15th season in the NBL, Oscar Foreman says that Beveridge is looking to instill confidence in his team to play freely.
You know, he's changed a lot of things with us, and it's, you know, one of the big things is instilling a lot of confidence and really playing loose. And definitely there's a huge amount of freedom now, this group's team, and you know, it is more about just play 2-on-2, play 3-on-3, and, you know, use your strengths and utilise that.
The Hawks will play in the pre-season Blitz, which starts in Townsville today, before their NBL campaign tips off on October 8 when they take on Cairns.
So yeah, nice to see a change in fortunes for the Hawks ahead of their upcoming season, but let's move on to what we learnt this week. Jordan, what do you got for us?
Look, this week I learnt that one team's trash is another team's treasure. So over the last week we've seen guys in the AFL who were discarded by their team in the last 2 or 3 years have massive impacts. So I looked at North Melbourne. They were in desperate need of some attacking potency. That's what they really lacked last year. And they signed Jared Waite from Carlton and Sean Higgins from Western Bulldogs. And both have been really, really good for North when it mattered this year. You know, in the finals, they've stepped up and done really well. You know, hopefully they can do it again this week. And guys like Eddie Betts from Adelaide, they've just proven time and time again that guys can revitalise their career at another club. And the other one's Travis Farco from Collingwood.
Wouldn't have anything to do with you being a Collingwood fan?
Not at all. He's been brilliant.
You're a joker. For me, I learnt that cricket has got it all wrong by reducing the amount of teams in their World Cup. And I say this, of course, because the Rugby World Cup so far has been fantastic. You know, we've seen some great attacking rugby so far, but we've also seen some small teams really step up. You know, Fiji have pushed England and Australia, and of course you had Japan somehow pulling off that miraculous upset against South Africa. And for me, that's what the World Cup should be all about. Yes, it's about those big teams, giving them a chance to win some trophies, but it's also about giving the little guys a chance to really step up on the world stage. And I think with the Cricket World Cup being going back down to 10 teams, I think they've just got it all wrong, and you're going to lose that aspect of the World Cup.
Yeah, definitely. I guess it's what everyone loves seeing from World Cups, and it's something that people will miss.
Absolutely.
Back to AFL now, and with Adam Goodes retiring on Saturday, we decided to have a bit of a look back on his career and how we think he should be remembered.
Last week, we saw the final performance of one of the AFL's modern greats, Adam Goodes. However, there is concern that his on-field legacy is going to be overshadowed by the controversy that has surrounded him all year. Footy fans are a fickle bunch, prone to remembering the worst in a player. Take Ben Cousins, for example, a Brownlow medalist and premiership player known best for his drug-fueled indiscretions. Wayne Carey is another, a footballer with a Hall of Fame career who will also be remembered for having an affair with a teammate's wife. But unlike Carey and Cousins, Goodes has done nothing wrong. He's a player who never sought the limelight, yet stood up for his culture and spoke out against racism in Australia. Yet for doing just that, Goodes has been endlessly booed by opposing supporters this season. And if social media is anything to go by, he's in real danger of leaving behind the legacy of being a bad bloke. Let's get it straight. Adam Goodes should be remembered as one of the game's elite players. He won one Brownlow medal as a ruckman, then another as a midfielder. He won 2 premierships, 3 best and fairest, 4 All-Australian selections, and a Rising Star award. That is the resume of a phenomenal footballer. When remembering Adam Goodes, we must remember him as a brilliant player. But don't completely disregard the furor that has surrounded him this season, because the way that Goodes has carried himself through the saga has been impressive and dignified. But remember that Goodes was a superstar. And if you feel so threatened by an Aboriginal man pretending to throw a non-existent spear into a crowd of people, then you're merely vindicating Goodes' actions off the field. Adam Goodes was a champion on and off the field. Let's remember him as one.
Yeah, look, we're talking about one of the true champions of the game. Look, he's done a great deal off the field, but I think his footballing legacy is what he's going to leave behind. And, you know, he was a star, and I think that's why people will remember him.
Yeah, absolutely, and you certainly hope that's the case because what he's done on and off the field has been fantastic, really. But let's move ahead now to the Fast Five, where we preview all the upcoming sporting action. Jordan, we'll start with the NRL. Got Broncos or Roosters and Cowboys or the Storm.
Look, I'm going to go with both home teams this time. So I think the Broncos in Brisbane will be too strong for Roosters. In saying that, they were the minor premiers and they are a very good outfit, but I think with the week off, I think the Broncos will just get over the line. And I think the Storm will be too strong for the Cowboys. You know, the Cowboys were excellent last week. We saw what Jonathan Thurston and his team can do. But going down to Melbourne, I think it is a tough ask to go down there, especially with Melbourne having the week off. So, look, I'm going to tip Melbourne and Brisbane, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite from you and tip both away teams. I say the Roosters have just been that good all year. I think if anyone can make that tough trip up to Brisbane and get a result there, it will be the Roosters. And then in the game in Melbourne, I think the Cowboys just played phenomenally last week. And obviously you got Jonathan Thurston playing like a magician in the middle of the field. If he gets going this weekend, they're going to be unstoppable.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll go to rugby now. So the Wallabies kicked off their World Cup campaign this morning. How do you think they went, and do you think they've got enough to win it?
Look, they've made a shaky start, let's be honest about it. But to be perfectly honest, none of the big teams really stamped their authority on this tournament. I think New Zealand was shaky. England were pushed by Fiji. South Africa, of course, beaten by Japan. And I think, you know, there were some issues for the Wallabies. You know, they got isolated in attack a bit. There were some issues around the scrum and the line-outs. But there were also some positives to take away. David Pocock's performance, their defence. You know, so there's something to build on for the Wallabies.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, it's early days. Tournaments aren't won now; they're won at the end. And I think Michael Cheika was really happy that they got the win. And I think the bonus point is irrelevant at this stage. If they can keep winning, they're gonna get the job done. So we'll see what happens there. Staying in England, Diego Costa. We all saw his antics over the weekend. Do you think he should have got a suspension, and why?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's not playing in the spirit of the game. Let's be honest about that. I mean, I don't have a problem with a bit of niggle going on behind the ball, but he just takes it way too far. And the way he plays, it's almost like he's playing solely to get opposition players sent off. I think the FA, they've done the right thing, by saying, making a real step to try and cut this out of the game.
Yeah, definitely. And look, he's now got that tag as a bit of a grub. And I guess ultimately it comes down to whether the referee sees it or not. But I'm glad the FA's put a line in the sand and said, if you do this and you keep crossing that line, you're going to be punished. So I think that's probably the right thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move back to the AFL now, and we've got the Brownlow medal coming up next week. Can anyone pip Nat Fyfe for the award?
Look, for me, I think Matt Priddis is probably going to go the closest. Now, he won the Brownlow last year and he was excellent. He had a fantastic season. He was playing in a team that was a bit better than average. They won quite a few games and he was outstanding. Now, this year, he's playing in a team that's won a lot more games, and there's going to be a lot more guys taking votes off him. Now, I don't think anyone will really come that close to beating Fyfe. He's a hot favourite, but I think if there's anyone, it's probably going to be Priddis, because he has had a great back half of the season. He's been really good again.
Yeah, so I think Todd Goldstein's a pretty good chance. He kind of had a similar season to Priddis last year on a slightly better than average team, but he doesn't really have anyone else on North Melbourne who's going to be taking votes off him. And let's face it, he's been by far and away the best ruckman this season. He's had really good years. Back half was a little bit shakier, but I think he'll be a genuine chance. But as he said, very tough to take the award off Fyfe this year.
Yeah, definitely. And look, all those three guys made the All-Australian team that was announced this week. Now, there were some notable omissions. Who do you think was unlucky to miss out?
Plenty of guys who are unlucky. The one guy for me, though, that stood out was Josh Kennedy from Sydney. I think this guy had a phenomenal season. Averaged 30.5 disposals a game, 6 tackles, was second in the league for contested possessions, and of course went on that huge run at the end of the season when he had 12 games of 30 possessions or more, and those are phenomenal numbers, and how you can leave him out of your team, I just don't understand.
Yeah, look, that's a very good point. He had an excellent season. For me, Taylor Walker is probably the biggest omission. This is a guy who led his side as skipper through a tragic time, in their history and AFL history in general. So he did really well to deal with things off the field, but to play the way he did was outstanding. He kicked 59 goals in a team who made finals, who did really well. I think he was probably, along with Josh Kennedy, the premier forward in the competition this year. Jack Riewoldt pipped him, who's no mug. Look, this guy kicked 50 odd goals in a team who finished 5th, but for me, Taylor Walker was the big one to miss out.
Yeah, a few unlucky guys there. But we're just about out of time at the moment, so as always, we'll leave you something to check out over the next week. Jordan, what do you got for us?
NBA season's only about a month away, so we're starting to see all the advertisements and commercials roll in. This week I saw a pretty cool one, which was had Steph Curry, who featured in it. We're talking about a guy here who he won the MVP last year. He led his team to a championship. He had an outstanding season. Now, this guy, in the commercial, he reads out his 2009 draft report, which, by all accounts, we had all the scouts saying this guy's too small. He's not athletic enough. He needs to improve his handles. He's not a starting point guard by any means. Now, pretty ironic the way he's turned out around his career. He must have worked incredibly hard, and this commercial is definitely something to check out because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's got a nice bit of jewellery to kind of disprove all those doubters, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. That's, I guess, the ultimate.
Certainly is.
All right, guys, so unfortunately we're almost out of time, so make sure you check us out on Facebook and Twitter this week, as well as subscribing to UOW TV to keep up with all the latest episodes.
Yeah, that's right. We'll be back next week with another dose of all your biggest sporting news. Until then, grab yourselves an armchair and we'll see you next week. Take care.